Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you here at the Startup Days. Today we're very excited to present you the story of a very unique client of ours. This year we have chosen a format which is a little bit different from the previous year, where it was a bit more didactic about how IP works. We chose to actually present a case study live with the leaders of the company to give you a bit of an insight how Swiss disruptive innovation developed by startups can really make a difference and can be really used or use an IP portfolio which is appropriately constructed to leverage its impact on an international stage. So I want to briefly, doesn't seem to work. Voila, there we are. I want a very brief introduction of the speakers. Maria, maybe I'll...
Good morning. My name is Maria Maina. I'm a patent attorney. My background lies in electronics. I have a number of years of experience in the intellectual property, and I'm also an IP special coach for InnoSwiss.
My name is Claudia Nash. I'm also a patent attorney and tech transfer expert. I have a background more so in the biotech technologies. I'm also working for P&TS and also InnoSwiss coach for startups. We are fortunate enough to have guest speakers here today. The leaders of the companies we're going to be talking about. So I first would like to introduce Patrick Flaxion, who brings a long-standing experience as a trainer of elite athletes, and his experience really spans the physical preparation, performance management, and also technical innovation in this sport. So he has worked with many elite athletes and is also, apart from his training mandate, a true entrepreneur. That means he looks out, he discovers needs in his area that he knows well, and he looks for innovative solution. And this is what brought him to Myotest, brought him to found Myotest, which we'll hear a great deal about it later. Patrick is still active as a coach. He has another company now, which is called Elitements, where he also coaches athletes for the physical preparation to develop the muscular and sensomotoric abilities. We also have with us today Christoph Ramstein, who is a serial CEO, I should say, and a company builder. So he has extensive experience with tech companies, with scaling tech companies. He has worked extensive experience also in the haptic area, which actually led him to take over Myotest at a later stage. He is well versed in the strategic leadership of companies and is today still on the board of the company, Myotest, and has also acted as a CEO for two other companies actually, Myotest and Novato. So we're delighted to have both of you with us today, and we're really excited to hear about the journey of your company and how you managed actually to, because it's not that easy to unlock the commercial potential of the innovation that you made. So it's one thing about coming up with innovative solutions as a small startup, a small Smith startup, but then really unlocking the potential, that's an entirely different story.
Good morning.
So, before we go into the nitty-gritty of the story, I'll let Maria briefly present our company, P&TS, and what we do for our clients.
Thank you. Indeed, Claudia and I work in P&TS, which is a innovation law private firm, mainly based in Neuchâtel, but with an office also in Zurich, so that we are present in both German and French parts of Switzerland. We provide a number of services comprising prosecution services, meaning the steps between the filing of an IP title, like patent, design, or trademark, to the grant in more than 65 countries, thanks to a network of correspondents. We are active also in litigation, providing services like oppositions before the European Patent Office or before national court with infringement proceedings, nullity proceedings, trade secret violation, and etc. We have an expertise in the new technology and software law, providing, for example, also AI assessment, IP-related aspects. We have a team inside performing searches, for example, patentability searches, freedom to operate searches, landscape searches, and also technology survey. Indeed, it is also in the name of P&TS. TS stands for technology survey, and P stands for patents. And we provide also AP due diligence, in particular to startups, as also acting as IP special coach, as IP roadmaps and IP assessments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So to start with our story, with Myotest story, I would like first to turn to Patrick, who was there from the very start, actually before the company even existed. So the story really began in the field, in the day-to-day work with athletes, and to kind of think about how to develop their performance, how to improve their performance. And this is something that the world Patrick knows, where he came from, and where he kind of went a little bit ahead of himself and thought, like, what can we do better? So as a professional trainer, Patrick, how did you end up finding a technology startup company? So what brought you there?
Okay, good morning, everybody. When you are a coach like me, at that time, 40 years ago, I knew at that time that technology take part of the training, of the evolution, of the management of performance. You cannot just have the expert eyes and say, oh yeah, I think you're good. You have to manage it to make sure that all the effort an athlete has to do to be better, that you follow it and you can manage it, right? Understand how the performance is growing.
You need to measure 100%.
And then assessment take part of it. And at that time, we used all the time laboratories, force plates, system, complicated, just 1-2 times a year because expensive and not easy to do. And that's come the idea to use easy technology into the training session, exact in the gym, salle, or whatever, which technology makes sense to be faster, efficient, maybe not so high precision like a laboratory, but anyway useful. And at that time, accelerometers, that we are talking about 1996, was very interesting. And with a friend, we moved to the high school to see engineer high school what's possible to do. And they said, oh, why not? Maybe with accelerometer we can do something. And we start to assess with accelerometer, big bottle, you know, with cables, complicated stuff, and whatever. But
so this was the time before the Fitbit.
Yeah,
we're talking 40 years ago, so you have to put yourself in a little time capsule. Sorry.
That's it. And then the evolution came that is logical that we move and develop this system. And I don't know why I started this startup, but I didn't have this technology at that time and said, okay, why not? And we started like this.
So you did it yourself?
Yeah.
You didn't find anyone who does it for you?
Two friends, and the vision was, okay, we are in 2003. In 15 years, we will assess the movement with accelerometers in the waist. That was the vision, you know.
So at the time, you sound like there was a big device, lots of cables hanging out.
Here,
so
right? Yeah. Yeah, the red
Oh
one.
yeah, there you go, there you go. So I presume for yeah, you can
Maybe
you
you can
explain this
show.
afterwards. Yeah.
But it's
So the
portable.
business, the business model was to have this device and bring it to clients. Now again, so this was 40 years ago, but I think there was an. Then you were talking to investors as well. How did they react to that, or how did they when they saw this massive device?
But at the beginning, it was no investors, you know, some friends and family funds. You know, you have a few bucks in the pocket to start, and I tested with the system, this one, the red one, to friends over the world. The first one I sold 7,800 euro. This one that was in National Institute of Sport and Education in Paris. And I start to work with some friends, trainer over the world in America and Europe. And they say, wow, it's great, your system. Okay, we buy it. And that was the start. I sold 150 pieces of this one.
Very good. Well
But
done.
then struggling, no money, no vision, nothing, no any ideas.
I mean,
Just
the
problem,
idea,
you
the
know.
idea obviously with this is as well to have it kind of close to the athlete's body.
Yeah.
And there it was also at the time then in the 80s where you had the iPod coming out. So I think there was the idea that can we not reduce this a bit in size and make it a little bit more user-friendly, something that is robust, but yes, portable.
Yeah, but when I try to find some fund, I've been somewhere in Lausanne, everywhere to present this product. And the first investor said to me, you know, if you can put everything in a small box like this, I'm interested. And I said, yeah, this box is empty. We can put the technology in this. Okay, I'm ready to invest into that. That was in 2005. And that was the beginning of the story and the problems, really.
Yeah, so I mean, this was the first prototype, if you want, not more than prototype, it was sold. And then, oh yeah, you have the second one here as well.
Yeah,
Very
the second
good.
one, the red one.
So you went from this massive red box to
Yes.
this little snazzy orange box that could be really worn and didn't really impede the athletes too much. You could be weightlifting with it. I mean, it's a bit of a difference, but I have this big box there, a little one, which is obviously a lot better. So that was as the first or the second already commercial offering to sell these products to athletes. But I presume also at the time you probably had to secure a bit of a competitive position in the market, and that's not so easy as a Swiss startup. So how did you prevent this from being just copied by the big guys?
My challenge was the investors with the network, all the know-how they have and the experience, right?
Yeah.
They said, be careful, we have to protect it. We cannot put some million in this story without make sure that we protect it. And I said, yes, but a lot of publication exist on accelerators. I think no chance to protect something. But they said, no, wait. We will make P&TS, Christophe Sam. That was also the beginning of the P&TS story, right? I came in Sion and he said, oh, why not? Let me analyze it. And after a few weeks investigation, he came with some very good news. He said, oh, wait. What we will doing with accelerometers, that's never been made before. Then we can protect it.
And that's maybe also an important point I'm making there, because you were really into your technology, you're developing all that. Sometimes you don't see it as that special anymore. And you probably need somebody from outside to say, like, look, actually what you're doing is, not everybody is doing this. And you think, oh, everybody could do this, but it's not, because you're so used to think that way. It seems to maybe less protectable than it actually is. So it's actually good to have somebody from outside.
Yeah.
So you came with this device, you showed to Christophe to say, like, okay, protected, so easy enough. As a patent attorney, you go and, sorry, what did I put here? You go and describe the device and file a patent application with the office. not a big deal, is it, Maria?
Yes, I was not there at the time in P&TS indeed, but I retrieved in the file the first patentability search. In fact, it was the first step, check if the invention of Patrick satisfied the patentability criteria, in particular novelty and inventive step. And at that time, we didn't retrieve a document anticipating all the features of the Myotest device. So the good strategy was at that time to file a patent application. This is a physical device. Once on the market, everybody can make a reverse engineering, understand how it works, and copy it. So having a patent at that time was really, really important. And in the claims, we focused the protection not only on the physical device, on the hardware, but also on the software aspects, because inside there is a computing module for computing the biomechanical parameters of an athlete. And that was a story. So first application filed in 2006, so 20 years ago.
So it's not quite as straightforward as me taking this and saying, like, I have an orange box with 5 buttons and stuff like that. So there's a little bit more behind it, and you have to think a bit more how to actually protect it and what gives you kind of a solid patent, which is actually broad enough to really keep the competition out, but actually solid enough to withstand attacks. And above that, there's also searches. There's, you mentioned the patentability search, but then when you launch the product as well, you don't want to infringe others' rights, so the FTO searches. So these are things, as a startup company, you probably all have heard about it, and for a reason. So these are things that are important, but there's also other aspects of IP which are important as well, which we maybe come back to on a later point. Yeah. Very good. So the first patent then was filed in 2006. So again, we are in an era pre-smartphone, pre-smartwatch, I don't know what was it at the time. BlackBerry. BlackBerry was the thing. Yeah. Maybe. So there wasn't more. There was the Nokia phones. I don't know who's old enough to remember them. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So that was around. So there was again no Fitbits, none of these devices that we all know today. So there's the first bibliographic page of one of the patents filed by Myotest, and also the company was sorry?
Yeah, maybe importantly also the scope of protection, because we protected not only in Switzerland, not only in Europe, but also in the US, and it was really important for the future.
Yeah. So that is all as well part of the protection strategy. You start your filing in one country, but then you can extend it to other countries, and that has to be business decisions. You need to know where your markets are, so where you're going to go to. But Myotest was also fortunate enough, especially to your connections, Patrick, to have an ambassador there, and that was Lara Good, which is probably known to everyone in here. Twice Olympian medalist, once in Sochi in 2022, I think was the first medal. Well, she was using the device, so was using that device, which is great. We have a picture of her here, but what I see here on the picture is a little bit different from what I have here. So what happened there? So this is something that didn't exist at the time yet. So we're talking something that I can carry here close to my body core, and then there was all of a sudden kind of that didn't seem to be the perfect solution anymore.
But the idea was effectively doing what we are doing in the laboratory, but on the field. Then wearing that close by the center of mass makes sense to measure, to assess leg performance, or on the bar to assess bench press or whatever. All these typical movement of training to the athletes, and to manage and have a real-time evaluation on the field. That was the first real-time assessment for the sportman. It was that, except the heart frequency cardio at that time was existing, but for force it was the first time have real-time assessment. That was the idea, and then this is easy way to wear on the belt, on the bar. with Velcro, whenever.
And there, of course, you have a hardware device with an embedded software, which you were selling. But then what happened? You needed to be a bit more scalable, and you needed to change your business model here. So you switched. You switched away from the pure hardware, but more to the software components.
Yeah, at the beginning, okay, the patent are not on the accelerometer, but how using accelerometer, how interpreting the trace of the movement. What exactly is a movement in the space, in 3D? That was the beauty from the accelerometer, and all the software after this first development was interested to understand the movement in the space and in the time. And of course, you need to treat the information, to read the different trace and whatever, to understand it, to put a lot of a selection of what is good, what is not good, because if you make a movement, you have a lot of vibration or whatever, then you have to really to understand the signal. That was a lot based on this treatment, understanding and interpretation to give to the user easy way understanding of the values.
So you had a lot of data, but you also learned how the treatment, how to develop your algorithms around with your software architecture around that. And to basically that then became more and more important than the actual device.
Yes.
So there was a major shift from the time you first came to Christophe and showed you this. So all of a sudden you said like, well, okay, I don't know, do I need this? What the clients want of me is to know how to treat this data, to interpret it, and to this architecture. So was that a big problem then, Maria? Because in the beginning they came and showed the device, and then okay, so was there any protection there at all, or or did you have to start from scratch again and create a new portfolio for this aspect?
No, this was not the case, because since the beginning we had software claims as well. So we had already a protection dated 2006 for software aspects for the algorithm. On the other side, there were at that time a lot of new inventions, and so we continued to protect the invention on both hardware and software aspects. And at that time, there were also the first licensing negotiation about the software. So we supported Myotest in drafting or negotiating agreements or licensing agreement with third-party companies.
So the interesting thing I find is that the first patent was filed in 2006. Yeah. And over the years, you continued to build your patent portfolio. And there we see there was a time after the patent was filed for 7 years, 2007 to 2014, where this pivot happened. This first pivot for really away from the pure product, from the software embedded hardware that we see here, to actually realizing, hang on, our value is actually the architecture that we have, the software architecture that we have, that we develop here. We're quite unique in that. And maybe this is where we need to focus more. So it's not something that Patrick went to bed tired in the evening and woke up in the morning and said, Eurocamp, tomorrow I'm going to change the whole business around. So it's something that's developed over many years. And you had to think about this over many years and continue to develop this strategy. And here as well, it's important in allowing you to do this pivot. You always need to think of your competitors about creating your position in that market.
If I can, maybe first the customer, because the customer is telling you what they need. And of course, you are in your system, you start, you push, you are motivated, but the customer needs something, and maybe it's a little bit different as what you are developing. And listen to the customer, I would say, is the first step. But everybody knows that.
but you're right. Probably everybody knows that, but it's very hard advice to follow because you're so in love with your product and with your thing. You think you have it right. I think it's a very important point that you're making there.
Yeah, but
the
point important to me was where I was impressed with P&TS is the way to organize and build the protection house. I would say like this. With this, we can put this option, and then we will create the connection with this other patent, then we are very strong system of patent. That was to me not just protect something and say if they do a little bit different, then they can copy it. You create really a barrier, really a protection of the complete system, if I can say like this. That was to me very impressive, the way to do that. Really.
Yeah.
And the thing is, again, like I go back to this timeline to have kind of like 7 years of pivot. I mean, I think what is, and Maria, you probably will agree, really important there is the exchange, because you can only build an IP strategy and a protection strategy if you know what the business is doing and how to pivot.
Indeed, intellectual property should be matched always with the business plan, otherwise it's not, it is, I would say, almost useful, not useful at all. And in our case, in the case of Myotest, the IP strategy was flexible enough for adapting to the change of the business plan and to somehow supporting also the changing of the business plan. Importantly, there were not only patents, because of course we protected all new developments made by Myotest, by Patrick, but also the focus on other aspects of the intellectual property, comprising also, for example, copyright. We are speaking about software. Software could be also protected by copyright, supporting the startup also with the negotiation and drafting on the contracts related to IP. This was really important at that time. So indeed, the IP should be seen as a broad tool that could support and allow a good story to be shared after some years.
Yeah. So the communication here, and that's also a key point, the communication here is very, very important with whoever handles your patent portfolio, that you're clear about what your business is, and whoever handles your patent portfolio should be able to respond and to adapt the IP strategy to that. So that is really something, and that's something that needs to evolve. As Maria said, it's good to have something that anticipates certain things in the beginning to provide basis for it, and then you can build on that. Very good. So we are in the year 2014, and I don't know of you who remembers, but that was actually a year that was big technological changes as well in this year, 2014, 2015, and maybe that's actually you want to, Christophe, briefly. Oh no, sorry, I have some patent drawings here as well, but I think we talked about this because we're going to skip the slide. So what happened in 2014 was?
Yeah, big changes in the planet of wearable devices with the very first working smart watch. It's the first time in the history where a company managed to bring a device that had been leveraging the iPhone technology and bring this to the wrist. And that means for Myotest, that was a big opportunity to go from what Patrick has been building in the form of initially a piece of hardware, then libraries, and then going and following the wave of, oh, now things are happening on the wrist.
So this was an idea which kind of, I think, floated around in Myotest before that. There was the basis for this already in the patent, but it hadn't been produced as such yet. And so there was a big changes in the domain, in the technical domain that you were working in. We heard about all this pivoting that was going on, from realizing that the software is maybe more important. The big competitors come in now. Really, the big global players are there, all interested in this area. So these are now your competitors. So that puts a little Swiss startup company a little bit under pressure. So very soon, you, from being kind of an entrepreneurial startup company who's very innovative, you need to think, okay, I need to scale, I need to be out there quickly, and I need to be standing up to the big guys. So, and there's another very important point what happened in Myotest. Myotest realized that. They realized, okay, maybe we need a different kind of skill set now. We need to adapt. The company is of course, startup like entrepreneurs. It's always your baby, your heart and blood is in this, but it's also an individual. So you need to let it grow so that they stand on their own feet. And what happened then, so Patrick and his team came to this realization, we need somebody else at the helm now. Somebody who has the capacity to bring it, to scale up and to scale it quickly. And who has actually also experience in the haptic market, which is yourself, Christoph. So we're fortunate to have somebody who actually really could bring all these capabilities that were required to lead the company and to scale it, to bring the product really on the market, and to liaise with lots of different people, lots of different companies, and not to be afraid to do deals. So I let you maybe take us about what happened then. So
Yes,
that this
sure.
change of leadership, maybe just shortly, that happened in 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I joined Myotest in 2016. I had no idea of training, performance. That's what Patrick had built over the past 16 years. My expertise is in building scalable licensing businesses in consumer electronic areas. I had spent about 15 years building the haptic market out of California, dealing with large companies like Samsung, Apple, Sony. There were a few more. We mentioned BlackBerry, who in the meantime disappeared. So I came into meeting with Patrick with the idea of, okay, is there a play here? So I joined in 2016 with the idea of, okay, let's look at what we have. Because IP is patents, sure. But more important for me first is where is the product, where is the value, where is the software, the copyrights that we can do something with. We mentioned earlier the Apple Watch. Say, oh, maybe this is something that would be an opportunity. Because how many people are running with a phone or are doing exercising with a phone as opposed to the watch? So we made a bet. For about 2 years, we said, okay, let's develop the algorithms that will work from the wrist only and focus on that. Forget everything else. Of course, in the meantime, we tried many things, but the story today is we focused on the watch from day one. And this paid out because we managed, number one, to build a technology that does what Patrick built over so many years of practicing with the best athletes on the planet. And we demonstrated with other expertise in Switzerland that what we did works. Gold standard versus what we have, 10% difference. Wow. Swiss precision on the wrist, which was the vision of Patrick that we pushed to the next level. So tech side, check, validated. Next step is let's go sell it. We're not going to sell it to consumers directly. Let's find licensees that will buy this from us, license it through royalties. And the first one that actually not the first one, the biggest one we found is Samsung, who eventually became our customer, licensing the technology plus the patents. And together the bundle became a great success story for Myotest. Today shipping in tens of millions of watches. Galaxy watches have Myotest technology inside, which for us was a great next step towards scaling the IP, patents and the assets, into a useful product that has been demonstrated with professionals, going into the mainstream and focusing on running. So today, when you see performance running from Samsung, this comes from Swiss company patented by P&TS on the planet. So this happened for about 4 years, building the tech for the wrist, check, validated, check, selling it to larger company. There's a few other ones who did take it, like Santo at some point of time, and others that I won't name. But the story didn't end there.
The story didn't end there, indeed. So it was a successful. It was hard work, as you said, when you tried out different things and you find the thing that worked, but then you kind of launch yourself really onto that. It was hard work with a lot of negotiations with other players as well, which also went ahead. But yeah, not everything can be shared here, but that was a successful aspect. one thing of a patent portfolio is, of course, you can use it to leverage, to have partnerships if you don't sell the products directly. But you also, of course, use it to keep out competitors. And very big competitors are not too scared of you if you're a Swiss startup. So not everybody will respect your patent portfolio. So that's a bit of a daunting step then for a Swiss startup. I mean, how are you going to defend yourself against the big guys? I mean, your pockets being significantly less deep than those of other very big companies. So what you're going to do with that? And there was issues detected. Certain companies were approached. That didn't really go ahead very much. Nothing came out of this. So then Myotest had the foresight really to think like, okay, we have that. That's something really valuable, but maybe there is something more that we can do. So what happened in 2022? Myotest actually came to this kind of what sounds a little bit bizarre step to transfer its patent portfolio, but it was really more than just a transfer of the patent portfolio. Yeah. Maybe you want, Maria, Christoph, you want to tell us a bit about what happened there, how you arrive at this decision to transfer your portfolio that you build up there, and why you do that.
Yeah, so in this slide you can see the technology of Myotest. So we discussed about a wearable device for athletes, a software, a platform for biomechanical parameters. On the other side, you have the main three patent families of another Swiss company, another startup, Swiss one, which had some connection with the Myotest. And you can see that they protected also early in 2006, the first file, three disruptive inventions related to wearable device, in particular smartwatches. So they protected well before the Apple Watch the fact that you can scroll on a smartwatch the display in the vertical and horizontal direction. This is the first patent portfolio. The second patent portfolio relates to the display of a mechanical watch movement on a smartwatch. And the third patent family relates to the fact that you can wake up your watch with a flick of your wrist. So you can see here two different technologies, but somehow complementary because they both relate to a wearable device with filing, the first filing in 2006. So the combination of the two patent portfolio allowed to give a good position to face really big players, competitors.
Yeah. So basically, you had patents as early as 2006. If you remember the smartwatch, the Apple Watch, that came out in 2014, so 6 years later. But there was patents there before that actually protected, even though the word smartwatch doesn't exist, but they protected this ecosystem. So this was already out there. Now, it wasn't all in the one company, but it was all in Switzerland, which is great because this is, shows just the innovative potential that is here. That's maybe not always directly realized if it's kept separately. But there, Myotest realized we have something really strong here. If we combine these portfolios, we basically cover the whole smartwatch ecosystem there.
And from a story standpoint, you can really see stages in the evolution of Myotest. Initially building the technology, creating value, understanding what customers want. Then there is the expansion to a larger market using the tech itself, the product, not the patents. Well, they're useful when you sell licensing, but that's not what you're just selling. And then at some point of time, for the reason that Maria explained, is for those people who decided not to play nice, then there is the patents that can be used. And that's where we decided to use the prior dates. So we predated all of the big players on the planet. There's no one company that had thought of it before Swiss companies, Myotest and Slide did. So we sat down with Christoph and Maria at the time and say, okay, what are we going to do? And that's how we started the next phase of the company, which is now leveraging the great work that was done on the patent side and leveraging that to bring the company to another step, which is a very different skill set, very different business approach, very different model of revenue generation. But we did that, and we did it quite successfully. So that was really the third aspect.
So rather than really knocking on the big doors, saying like, I have a patent here, and another guy comes on, I have a patent here, and they go like, thank you very much, not interested. You said like, okay, we put it all together and said like, look what we have here. We cover everything there. You cannot put your smartwatch onto the market without actually infringing our patents. So this is what happens there. And I think it's great because there's a lot of effort and a lot of innovative spirit going into this work, and you dedicate. Patrick dedicated a lot of his energy for many years in there, and then Christophe a lot of energy to grow all of this. So there's a lot gone into that. And it's a shame just to see it being taken away by somebody and not getting any awards for your efforts for building that and for sharing it with the world, because these patents obviously are shared with the world, and the ones that were filed in 2006 were certainly read by the big companies. I mean, that's clear. They're out there. They scan that what's out there, so they knew about that. Maybe are inspired by that, but they shouldn't, infringing on this patent. So it's great that you can actually working together, join your forces, and that's why the patent portfolio of Myotest was transferred to this company, which was based in America. The company was created for this purpose, so it wasn't together with the SlideWatch, pooled, and then to create the own entity.
I will add also that we could proudly say that all those aspects of smartwatches has been invented in Switzerland. So we were first the Apple Watch. So somehow
the smartwatch,
the smartwatch in general. I mean, all those aspects has been invented and protected in Switzerland first in 2006.
So what happened then? So the company was formed in the US, and then it gets a little bit more legal. I let Maria take on that.
There were indeed legal actions.
Much to Christophe's relief.
Well, I love it. I mean, as long as it brings money and success to the company, I love it. I did it. Thank you, Maria.
So indeed, there were legal action against a really big player on the market, and what happened is that there was no final decision. So it means that there were agreements before the final decision. We could not say more because there are a number of confidential aspects, but what we would like to share with you is the enforcement of the patent portfolio.
Which was made possible there.
Exactly. With really a filing date of 20 years ago, the first filing date, with a good protection in the US as well, because the legal actions were in the US, with also not only hardware aspects, but software aspects as well.
Yeah. So this is where we're at the conclusion of this long path, and several pivots along the way. And I think it's, if you're just setting out a startup, you kind of have probably a very good idea what exactly this is going to be. And the one thing that's certain that it's not going to be that, as we just heard. So it's really important to kind of grow with the startup and always learn with the startup as well. We're nearly at the end of this presentation, obviously this thing, but we have a few takeaways for you, which appear to us the most important ones. And maybe, Patrick, if I give you the mic for the first takeaway that we have here. You can look here if you want.
It's okay. Yeah. Now, to me, when you create a project, the project is the most important than the people to me. And to make sure that the story move forward, in every story, never or very rarely you can have the one person from the start to the end. It's very rare. Sometimes, yes. In my case, my education was not possible to go to the end.
That level.
To that level, and that's the reason why it was the transfer of the know-how and have a scale up in the story of the company is very important. And to me, it's the takeaway word, I would say. project is very important. The people
that was the
too, but
yeah.
for the story.
And maybe also, if I can add, investors are still there since the beginning, or at least some investors. So
The know-how for the
continuous
investors is very important because they put money inside, then they will protect the project. Then if they protect the project, they protect you too. And that's, to me, the investor was really, really helpful. Outside of the money was really the idea, the network, the know-how, and that's really a good combination.
And then also sometimes you have to change the business model.
Yeah.
Which is, so that was basically the company looked very different from what you had in mind in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Eventually. Okay, there's a few takeaways on IP. Maria,
yeah, I think that each startup should have an IP strategy, but please know that IP strategy do not necessarily means to have patents. In the case of Myotest, patents were useful. It was a physical device at the beginning. There were also software aspects that you could protect both with copyright and patents, but think broad. So IP strategy should match the business plan. The business plan could change over the years, as for in the case of Myotest, but think also to the other aspects of IP. For example, copyright, for example, trade secrets, for example, negotiation contract, licensing contract, etc. So think broad for IP.
And talk to whoever is in charge of your IP portfolio. It's very important to have this exchange here as well. Christoph.
Well, for me, it's all about partnership, because I'm just one element of the chain. Partners starts, of course, with getting a vibe with the founder. Bring business to the next step without this connection, by experience, is failing. Having a good connection with your investor, that have to be partners. Not having that creates tension that cannot be added to the other tensions you will have anyway. So it's better having the right investor partners and cherish that and nourish it and build it. And lastly, for me, the partners that you want to work with to build your business, in a licensing case, it is going to be building a relationship with Samsung. And when I say building a relationship, means having them coming to Switzerland, sleeping in your office, eating pizza at 7 in the evening, because they work 24/7. And through this partnership creation that initially start with technical people, expanding to the business, then to the legal side, which usually is the most painful side. But overall, once you follow these rules, which is mostly about really looking at building a business through the partners you make, and genuinely, you can't force it. But when it happens that all these different levels are met, you end up enjoying the journey and making your shareholders happy.
Which is also important. So basically, just to sum it up, we have, as we say here, a great example of Swiss disruptive innovation. Now, I think there's probably few examples around, but what makes this story special, it's really something that was truly disruptive, but that needed to be defended. And I think there is probably several cases around where there is great innovation, but it never really makes the light for this company, that kind of something somebody else kind of does differently. So I think there's several aspects with it. You need to be active and smart about it in many different aspects and all these things. So you need to really work at it. You need to already from the start think, how will I be able to defend this eventually? So this is very important, and I think the great success of this story is, it is great, the great partnerships that there were, but also that two small Swiss startups were able to stand up in the US internationally and say no, this is Swiss innovation, we invented this comes from here. We have to be some kind of rewards for our innovation. And it's great, it's really great to hear that, because I think there's so many examples where this doesn't happen and it's above, there wasn't anything. So be bold, be smart about it, go for it, and really believe in yourself. that you will able to stand up for yourself. So thank you very much for this. And I hope the guys were inspiring for you here. Yeah, we gladly take questions. I don't know, do we have? Yes, please.
So let's say that you are an investor and you want to look at a startup, and then you have to assess if there is or not IT. What would like 1 or 2 quick takeaways for the people doing this assessment? Is it's okay, not okay? What should we be looking at?
Well, IP protection is very important. I think for me, I would say the most important thing is, or what I would do as an investor, to look at the business plan and look at the patent portfolio and think, is there a match? You know, to actually have the right patents for what I need protection for. If there's a doubt, I think it's sometimes quite hard to judge patents. If you really want to do proper due diligence, I would advise you to seek also professional help, to have a patent attorney look at them. But as a first impression, I would say look at what is the business plan of the company, what do they want to do, do they have the right patents in place?
Yeah, I agree, and then I will add also freedom to operate.
Yeah.
So check if there are third-party patents that potentially could be activated against the solution of the company, and also sometimes ownership issues, because with startups sometimes maybe there is a founder before founding the startups inventing something and patented on your own name, on the name of the founder, and then if there was a transfer from the founder to the company. So I will say first, like Claudia mentioned, the matching with the business plan. If there is an IP strategy, not necessarily a patent portfolio, sometimes for software solution, maybe copyright and trade secret could work as well. The main important point is to describe how you decided to have this SP strategy.
And maybe one thing on the FTO, like ownership, absolutely agree. And this is kind of a simple one to check or to kind of realize that in place. With FTO, it's very important, but I think you need to be realistic about it as well. Especially very early stage startup, they don't have their final product yet, so they won't come with an absolutely clear FTO. So I think what is more important at that stage is kind of an awareness what is out there, rather than, okay, we have all green lights here, because your product might actually be something quite different from what you at the moment are thinking. But to know what the landscape looks like and where we shouldn't develop and where we should develop. So just to say this for an investor, because also we see investors who want to have, do I have the FTO or not? And we go like, well, depends, what's your product? So you need to go about it realistic. It's very important, but the expectations have to be a bit realistic with the state.
No, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you need to run before walking. So everything that Maria and Claudia said to me is really important, the strategy. And that could be before the implementation. So you need provisionals for sure, that cost nothing. So you want to make sure that once you have a strategy, you start implementing it, but usually it may take time, especially when the company is early stage. They don't want to pay money for the legal thing. They prefer spending the money for the engineers to build the product. But make no mistake, in the end you need it. So I think what Claudia and Maria said about get a strategy in place, get aware of it, do not miss it in your business plan, make sure you start with it so you can show the investors. As an entrepreneur has always been very helpful. And then eventually going from publication to being granted, don't forget the US, because otherwise your market will be too small.
Well, thank you very much. Last question I have. First, congratulations on the manufacturing, Swiss manufacturing, because it looks very good for 1996. And one, probably we'll take it later, but one question would be, once you passed from hardware to software, did part of the problems go away? And the second question would be more of a legal one. I'm sorry, we can take it later. Would be that how do you treat that specific for patents within the DLT law to make sure that the essence of the physics, the science of the patent is and can be transmitted into codification?
Okay, I'll let you reply first. So for Intidas, software could be protected by a claim, by a patent, and what we write is a method claim. So a method with a number of steps. So our job is to find the essential steps for the specific invention and to be broad enough to cover all the embodiments, also all the future development of the company, but not too broad, otherwise you could lose the patentability criteria like novelty, inventive step, with regard to the prior art documents.
Just to add
Was
on the
there a second
software
part?
side, sorry,
Go
Claudia, I mean, software is easier. It's cheaper. You don't have any of the problems you have with hardware. You can license it. There's different type of issues, but going full software makes a big business difference. Selling software subscriptions instead of full price of products just makes it easier from a business standpoint.
It's a lot more scalable. I mean, you're scaling more rapidly.
Absolutely.
But negotiation can also be tough then.
Oh yeah, because it's bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. So you want to. I mean, there the importance is really to negotiate deals that really suit you, and you now have to be careful as well because maybe you have one big fish and yay, great, I'll give them everything, but hang on, there's only one, so maybe you want to keep the door open for other ones as well. So the negotiation is something that, and proper contract is something that should not be underestimated either.
They will ask for exclusivity. You say not yet.
Work for me first. Show me that you can do it. Okay. Very good. So thank you very much again. If there are no further questions, and obviously we're around today. So we have a stand downstairs, P&TS, just outside the big auditorium. There's either Maria, myself, or our colleagues, and yeah.
Feel free
and
to
you're
visit
probably
us.
hanging around as well, or looking at to meet other people. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.